A very warm welcome to IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 13. I'm Ritwika Gupta, and tonight, as part of our World Entrepreneurs Day special episode, we bring you an exclusive panel discussion on the rise of purpose-driven entrepreneurship in India, especially as sustainability takes center stage. Does green really mean business, and is purpose the new engine of profit? Joining me in this panel discussion are Shantanu Deshpande, founder and CEO Bombay Shaving Company, Aditya Ruia, co-founder Beco, and Ankit Agarwal, founder Phool. Thank you for joining us today for our World Entrepreneurs Day special episode. It's a pleasure to have all three of you today.
Pleasure, Ritvika. Thank you for having us. And Aditya and Ankit are doing such amazing work. So always good to meet them virtually and in real life. So good to be here with everyone.
Now, you have each built impactful brands that speak to a new kind of Indian consumer. So let's rewind a little bit. Tell us the why behind your brand and the moment you knew that it had to be built. Shantanu, let's start with you.
See, I think I started building Bombay Shaving Company in 2015-16. This was a cohort of companies, that realized that the ability to build a consumer brand in India was phenomenal for four big reasons. One was companies like Amazon and Flipkart were building out e-commerce ecosystems. Companies like Facebook and Google were building out D2C ecosystems. The consumer wanted newer and newer brands. They were not okay with just the regular staple brands. There was a rising consumer demand for variety, and you're seeing that grow like exponentially over the last 10 years. There was infrastructure development through telecom by Jio and companies like Xiaomi, Apple, etc., which put 75 to 100 crore phones over the next over 5 years in that period. And in my category, there was a male consumer who wanted, like, look at Ankit, Aditya, and me today, right? I think we have three very different kinds of beards and hairstyles, and if you even look below the neck, there is requirement for grooming that the older traditional companies could not fulfill. So there was infrastructure, there was consumer need, and then there was a market that had that was underserving the consumer. So opportunity to build a large consumer brand, because barriers to entry were lower, and you could tell a nice, you could really design good products and tell a compelling story to consumers. So that's how Bombay Shaving Company started, and it's been a great 10-year ride.
Aditya?
Beco's journey actually started in the year 2019, and we were actually at a beach cleanup in Mumbai. Uh, in the cleanup, we actually came across a food wrapper that was this bright orange in color. It looked so fresh. It felt like it had just been thrown maybe a few weeks or months earlier. And my father was there for a walk, and I asked him that, Papa, have you seen this before? And he said that, Aditya, this actually belongs to a chocolate which was discontinued in the 1990s, and this was 2019. So, the fact that some of the things that we use today have survived for so long, they're detrimental to us, they're detrimental to the environment, made us feel like there is a scope to build a better product, both for the consumer as well as for the planet. And I think that was the genesis of Beco, and the name stands for Be Eco. So, how do we tell the consumers to be eco-friendly, to be natural, to be toxic-free, and help them take that first step?
Ankit?
Way back in 2015, I have a Czech friend. He was visiting India, and he was doing this regular circuit, which is a Delhi, Agra, and Mumbai. So I asked him if you want to see real India visitor, like villages, tier 2 cities, and I invited him to my hometown that happens to be Kanpur, Uttar Pradesh. And in Kanpur, there are not many places that I can take someone to visit. So I took my friends to the ghats of the river Ganges. And luckily, unluckily, that date was Makar Sankranti. So Makar Sankranti is this festival where everyone celebrates by taking a dip in the Ganges. You thank the sun god for your harvest. And my friend started counting. He counted around 147 people taking a dip in the Ganges, and the water was so dirty that we didn't even dare touch it. So then I thought I really want to solve this. And since then, devoted my life on this issue, studied the life cycle of a flower. Where does it come from? Where does it go? And every year we Indians put in about 8 million tons of these flowers in the river Ganges. So this is what it's the problem that we are trying to solve, not the product side, but the problems.
Sure, Shantanu, coming to you first. Now, grooming is an intensely personal space. What inspired you to introduce sustainability into a daily use, habit driven category?
Frankly, we have a lot of intent to do something, but we are not at the size and scale where we can make it a purpose for us over profit. My belief is that the company has to become meaningfully large, generate enough profits, and then start creating habit change. Otherwise, frankly, at the current scale, we don't have the license to play the game. Let's be very honest, right? But having said that, Bombay Shaving Company is trying to make small inroads in the sustainability space. So, for example, we do between 10 to 12 lakh razors per month we sell, of which now almost 30 to 40,000 are in the category where the handles are made of more natural materials. They're not made of plastic, they're made of wheat straw, they're made of coconut husk, because these are materials that sometimes could get problem. There could be problem using it in a moist and wet Indian bathroom. But we have tried to design the product so that it's easier to use. Longevity of the blades is a lot higher. We try to communicate to our consumers around lesser usage. We try to make per shave usage a lot cheaper so that the blade lasts also a lot longer.
Aditya, much like what I just asked Shantanu, but here's my question to you. So, Beco champions everyday sustainability from kitchen towels to cleaners and other household products. What are some of the challenges of building something like this, a green alternative in such a price sensitive category?
So I think there are a couple of them. Firstly, that every time we say something that is natural might to the consumer not sound very efficacious, or whether chalega ki nahi, right? So I think inherently, if I say natural chemicals, A, it does not make sense. But B is that people feel that are they compromising on quality? Is there something that I'm not going to get? Does it feel like charity sometimes? I think second is definitely looking at the available solutions. I think while we have innovated on some of these, the invention itself, I mean, plastic bottles have been around for so long, right? So many large bottlers or large beverage companies have been trying to figure whether can they really replace plastics at a cost effective as well as a feasible solution in any market. And I think while there are some inroads, I think, and actively organizations are working behind it, it's still the invention part has still been far more slower, right? And if you look at just the way even plastics had started, initially it was looked at it as a magic sort of a chemical or a magic ingredient that is solving so many of the world's problems. But today, that itself has become the problem, right? So how do you come up with solutions that actually don't end up becoming problems for tomorrow? And I think that's where a lot of people have become more cognizant of.
Sure. Coming to you, Ankit. Now, you told us how Phool redefined waste into wellness. But what were some of the initial insights that helped in proving that upcycling floral waste could be commercially viable and scalable?
Before I get onto the insights, I would like to tell you how I got the insights. So one of the biggest name in the industry, in FMCG industry in the country, when I was starting, met him and showed him the product we were making, and he said, "ये चलेगा नहीं बेटा, अपना time मत waste करो." Agarbatti industry is a 10 rupee, 15 rupee product which is sold at every पान की टपरी. You won't be able to compete. ना तुम्हारे पास पैसा है, ना ये product में दम है. So just moved out of his office and thought कि पता कैसे चलेगा ये चलेगा कि नहीं. So figured out, took out a piece of paper, wrote कि मेरा if I have to sell this product, who would be my potential customer. I figured out this is 2015 that the person who's buying my product should have at least 2 cars at their home, should either have a newspaper or some kind of a connection, should be educated. Figured out about 20 homes in Mumbai, 20 in Delhi, 20 in Hyderabad. Went to each person's home without an agenda, just to simply talk to them. Figured out 3 things: sustainability, organic, ये सब से ज़्यादा important है quality. Number 1 is quality. And quality needs to be consistent. Whether you are sustainable, cheap, expensive, XYZ, whatever you are, prime is quality. That was one. Second is, I figured out organic, the perspective that people had of organic or natural was कि organic or natural is boring. It would be brown in color, packed in a jute packaging, or just simple plain cardboard, written with handmade. उसमें colors नहीं थे. So this was the second insight that organic or natural does not have to be boring. It can be trendy, it can be sexy, it can be colorful.
It's time for a quick break. Here we'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. Welcome back to IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 13. You're watching our World Entrepreneurs Day special panel in conversation with Shantanu Deshpande, founder and CEO Bombay Shaving Company, Aditya Ruia, co-founder Beco, and Ankit Agarwal, founder Phool. Listen in. So Shantanu, circling back to you, now you have scaled Bombay Shaving Company into a multi-channel high-growth brand through production, innovation and campaigns like EcoSensi. But how does one quantify the ROI of sustainability? How do you measure the tangible business impact of these investments?
We have to have a much larger sense of responsibility as an organization the moment we reach a certain scale and we have the ability to do it. At an organization level, we actually look to our consumers, to our younger colleagues to help us shape. So, for example, EcoSensi as a campaign and as a razor was something that the older employees and colleagues actually did not fully subscribe to. It doesn't look great, by the way. If you look at the product, it actually does not look like a well-designed great razor because it's frankly, it's like rice, right? If you see rice where the grains are extremely perfectly coherent to each other, you know that it's ultra processed rice. Where actually, if there is more natural rice, the grains are different from each other. So visually, the product actually sometimes when it does not have the best markers is when the product is the best. Younger colleagues actually liked that a lot more. They liked the imperfection in a in a rice husk or a coconut handle, for example. They liked the fact that the imagery was of that nature, and that's what we started realizing that if we want to do something, we have to get away from cost-based, high visual appeal type productization of our offerings. And that's step one. And then we realize that if the more we do, if we are able to quantify it and tell internally what the company, what we are doing, I think that leads to a second level of responsibility.
Aditya, how do you balance scalability with environmental responsibility, especially when moving from niche D2C to more mainstream retail channels?
I think that's a good question. So overall, you have to view sustainability as a journey, and I think I've realized this the hard way because we keep certain ideals that are difficult or sometimes impossible to achieve. So you will have to look at, and I always pursue my team also to look at sustainability as a journey, saying that how do we take that first step? How do we help the consumers take that first step? How do we help the industry take that first step? Because I think that itself becomes more essential. So I feel retail is actually much more environmentally better than actually D2C because you're shipping out individual deliveries, right? And that obviously takes up a lot more fuel, a lot more uh, cost as well in terms of distribution, and hence the entire landscape is much more optimized in the retail. So if you go back to actually a kirana or a modern trade, the way their entire supply chain works is actually that the products are very close to from where they are buying, right? Either with a distributor or a super stockist and some of these things, right? So you're always shipping out in bulk, which is much more efficient in terms of carbon emissions, or it's much more cheaper in terms of cost. But I think more so, it is also burning much less fuel. So I think as we scale, uh, I think the best sort of way to look at it is that how do you achieve something better than what the industry is doing today? What something better than what you were trying for yesterday? And I think that itself will yield a better result in terms of the entire sustainability lens.
So Ankit, just shifting gears a bit, Phool's circular economy model is often cited globally, but circularity can be operationally complex. What are some innovations you've had to create from scratch to make that model work at scale?
So first of all, at least in our case, circularity, first of all, is not plug and play. You need to like think about the entire system from scratch. So when I started collecting flowers, I used to like collect around 10-15 kgs a day on my Activa, bring it to my home to like do those experiments. And for me, often it was stealing those flowers from the dustbin of the temples, because when I used to like go to the temples and ask them from flowers, they would say कि क्या करोगे इसका, ये मत लेके जाओ, ये भगवान के फूल and everything. So the first thing that I figured out was I need a method to convince the temples to give us their flowers. So that crack was in the Hindu Aarti. There's this line, Tera Tujhko Arpan. So I started using that with priests and temple authorities, saying कि ये फूल ना आपके हैं ना मेरे हैं, ये मैं खुद नहीं कर रहा हूँ, ये भगवान मुझसे करवा रहे हैं, तो ये मैं इसकी अगरबत्ती बनवा के भगवान को वापस जा रही है, ये हमारा काम नहीं है, भगवान का काम है. So that was the first thing that really helped us make that crack inroads.
Shantanu, tell me, as both a founder and investor, how do you view the investor sentiment towards purpose-driven startups today? Are they getting the kind of capital attention they deserve, or is there still a gap?
I think fundamentally, entrepreneurs have to find a way to create profitable and sustainable business models in addition to sustainable businesses, right? Which I think over a period of time, good entrepreneurs always find their way to do it. I've always seen that entrepreneurs always of this nature are always personally very purpose driven. Like Aditya and Ankit, they both have personal stories about the businesses they're building. But in general, if you have purpose driven entrepreneurs who themselves live that purpose day in and day out through their business, you will likely see that over a period of time they responsibly create great businesses and great value for the purpose they're driving, right? So I personally have seen it do very well. I think there are a lot more founders. I think as Gen Z, I think there is a much larger sensitivity among Gen Z and then Gen Alpha around taking care of the planet in general.
So Aditya, many green brands struggle to build emotional resonance. How should a business, be it a MSME or a D2C brand, approach storytelling without sounding preachy?
Eventually, you will, whatever your purpose is, right? Like that, I think has to be some sort of a shared purpose, and you should feel and you should know that there is a large enough consumer base that is also resounding with the purpose. So I think part of what Shantanu and Ankit also said, right? Like if you truly understands the consumers of today and tomorrow, I think there are a lot of opportunity, a lot of learnings that sort of come up with what is it that they fear, what motivates them, how are they viewing the future, how are they viewing the present, and a lot of consumer insights will actually drive the kind of storytelling that you would want to do.
So Ankit, your social enterprise model empowers hundreds of women at the grassroots. In your view, how can businesses build inclusive, impact-led models that also drive growth?
So I very strongly believe that first of all, businesses today need to move from the CSR model, which is the corporate social responsibility, to a corporate shared value model, CSVs, where you create value not only for the consumer, for your shareholders or stakeholders, but also for your employees and the planet, is what I believe. And with Phool per se, never wanted to establish an NGO, but a social enterprise which is profitable. Simple reason: to actually solve the flower problem, we need at least 10,000 startups like Phool to be actually able to solve the problem at scale. And we Indians, at least the Banyas and Marwadis, only jump into something when there is money involved. And once this is profitable, I believe a lot of people will jump into this thing and we will be able to solve the problem. That is the baseline of how I think about the whole sustainability and business aspect. And I very strongly feel that today, sustainability, inclusivity are the only differentiators that a business can have against the incumbents or any other existing product that is there in the market. This sustainability or inclusivity can help you save so much of your marketing dollars just by helping you build upon the communication, because your communication becomes different. You like amongst the chatter, you are the only one who's like then talking different. And Gen Z today really thinks 360 degree about using a product. क्या इसके benefit है, who's making it, who's not making it. And I think in this one lifetime, I think we, our generations, are blessed with so much capital and everything that we can really bring this change in the ecosystem.
So as we wrap up this very insightful discussion, one final question for all three of you, for all the entrepreneurs watching today, what's that one piece of practical advice you'd like to leave with them? Let's start with you, Ankit, this time.
Anyone who's beginning, I would say go to every single business plan competition possible. You'll get two things. One is if you win the prize money. Second is free mentor advice from who's who of this plan of this country. That's one. Second is help is always available. Just ask for it. LinkedIn, emails, anything.
Wonderful. Aditya?
I think when someone tells you your idea is not working or it's not good enough, I think that really helps because that either tests your conviction in terms of whether it works or not. And more so, it allows you to actually think differently and break through those resistance and to look at resistance more as a test and not as a real resistance is possibly the best thing that could happen to you. And early success doesn't teach you as much as the early grind teaches you. So, the tougher it gets, the better it is.
Fantastic. Shantanu, I'll let you have the last word.
Yeah, I think entrepreneurship today for a lot of people has become more about the applause than the performance. I think people do entrepreneurship the way as if there are 1,000 cameras watching them and they have to put up 5 LinkedIn posts and start 10 podcasts and tell 20 friends. So the social validation around entrepreneurship is actually fairly bizarre. And that's what they say about, they're about marathoners, right? If you're not allowed to tell anyone that you've run a marathon, will you actually still do it? And people say 95% of people will drop out. And frankly, that's my view on entrepreneurship as well. Like if no one's watching and you're not allowed to tell anyone you're doing what you're doing, will you still do it? And that mental model itself will force a certain clarity. Like look at Ankit and Aditya, right? Very clear. Home care, large market. This is the kind of category we're going to get into, or 8 million tons of flowers going in. We want to solve the problem. We'll find a business out of it. This clarity of thought is not easy. It's a very rare thing to happen. And for any entrepreneur, that's the starting point. So my push, very strong push would be that don't treat entrepreneurship as a source for applause. Do it because you want to create something lasting. You want to create something valuable. Force yourself to have a certain clarity around a business.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen. This was very, very insightful. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Ritwika.
With that, it's a wrap on this edition of IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 13. We hope you enjoyed our panel discussion. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.